hope that you had a great night. My name is Linda Alela. It's good doing this with you as we kickstart the day looking at what is happening in the world of news, getting into very important conversations. Being a Tuesday, we will be talking business, perhaps speak to a person who started in the world of business at a very tender stage and has grown in leaps and bounds, and we celebrate that as we also give you that motivation that is indeed possible. This is a conversation of tenders and the Hustler Fund are on, and the bosses of the bosses of the country then are promising Kenyans that it's going to be a turnaround in terms of matters that is economy in the event that we align with their dream for the country, that is the president and his deputy. And we also take a look at what is happening on the papers this morning. Yes, that very story that I've just mentioned is there, as well as so much more. And so karibu sana, it's good doing this with you. My name is Linda Alela. And of course, the hashtag is Morning Cafe at Linda_Alela TV47KE. Let's get to interact as I sample some of your comments as we continue with the broadcast. The Daily Nation, the People Daily, as well as the Standard newspaper, the papers that we have this morning. Why besieged IEBC duo quit? That is the conversation that we've been having. Just how ready were they to face the tribunal? Who will be left standing? Will the Muchelule tribunal really have something to do, if at all this for then will decide to quit? Well, tribunal informs the Four of Status conference this very Friday. And of course, they say a couple of matters that need to be looked into. Criminal sanctions, fear that tribunal will be turned to a lynch mob with possibility of criminal sanctions against them. And I mean, those are some of the fears that this four then would have. And public ridicule and grilling, that resigning means they will not face tribunal, removing the shame of public ridicule and as well questioning, and of course a predetermined process in the sense that commissioners see Oster bid as already predetermined with one final outcome, their removal from office. And lastly, the money that of course resigning as opposed to being pushed out by the tribunal then gives a chance to besieged commissioners to earn gratuity and other benefits. And of course, we are waiting to see what then plays out. Commissioners hope to avoid what would be public scrutiny on their lives and conduct in office that may lead to criminal charges being preferred against them, even as, of course, the opinion is split on whether or not they will still face the tribunal after tendering their resignations, a story captured on a page 4. And the biggest story that we'll be having this morning, alongside the lady and gentleman that joined me shortly, and of course away from it, the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, says that Kenyans are to get all tenders under 1 billion. Deputy President says the plan will also see to it that local investors benefit from mega projects by ensuring that the contracts above 1 billion are awarded to foreign firms that enter into a joint venture that is with local businesses. Story captured on page 8. And of course, so much more playing out in the business world. This as public schools are the best in competency-based curriculums, of course, as declared. And of course, public primary schools are doing much better than their private counterparts when it comes to practicals. This is according to Professor Charles Ongondo, the director of the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, which conducted the study. A story captured on the front page, expounded on the back page. This as we also wait to see what then the team declares in relation to what the competency-based curriculum takes as a direction. And KICD urges that head teachers to ensure that learning is interesting and that learners collaborate as should be expected. Of course, move to domicile junior high in primary schools was lauded as well. And of course, we'll be looking at more in relation to this. This as Oswago Sholei jailed 4 years for 1.3 billion. And of course, procurement scandal. And the anti-corruption court in Nairobi has sentenced the former Electoral Commission official James Oswago and Wilson Kiprotich Sholei to 4 years in prison, each for corruption in relation to procurement of 1.3 billion voter identification devices in 2013. It's not been rosy for all the faces of the IEBC, that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Oswago Times, Isaac Hassan, Samuel Kivoito, of course, Bukati hasn't seen it so well, but of course he's been lucky not to have been ousted. Now that we all know his term is almost out, and by the time it's January the 30th, he will have been out of the office. Guilty, Oswago to pay for IBC ballot scandal. That as well is a story that finds itself on the Standard newspaper, the front page. And of course, we'll be looking at it as we continue with the broadcast. Just what signal does it send to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission and the officials that hold these particular positions? Certainly one that is to ponder on. And Raila seeks to ride on Ruto's failed pledges. That is a story as well that has been captured on the front page. The biggest story of the day. Azimio leader to lead a national conversation on governance and performance of the president and his cabinet. That is during several rallies. He has called a move that has thrust him into limelight, but government officials say he wants to cause chaos and roll back economic gains. This is captured on page 6, and the biggest story that we'll be discussing this morning as well, the front page of the People Daily. Ruto members of parliament demand purge on Right Honorable Raila Odinga men, and Kenya Kwanza parliamentary group meeting resolves that civil servants accused of campaigning for the Azimio presidential candidate in the last general election then be shown the door. And we'll be looking at this very story as we continue with the broadcast, as we await for the conversation, or the national conversation that is slated for tomorrow. And lawmakers in new plot for probe tribunal as Cherera resigns. A story captured on page 5. Just what does this mean for them, and what is the way forward for the others? Definitely as well for the tribunal is a question of wait and see as we continue to ponder on this matter. Bar owners devise new ways to dance around noise rules. Interesting times. A story captured on page 3. That is on page 3 of the People Daily, and that's in relation to the allegations that has been made upon them, and of course some of them being closed because of the aspect of noise, especially to the neighbors around, and you know, some of them complaining that it's been a noisy affair. It would be necessary for them to be tamed. And on the other side, Kenya Kwanza members of parliament want Raila supporters to be fired. Interesting. Several provincial administration parastatals, chiefs, and of course majority of them may soon be facing the chopping board, and we get to see just how that is going to play out. Those as the key stories as captured on the People Daily. Allow us to take some news stories that have been prepared by my team, and then we'll shift gears to the conversation that is very, very important. And therefore, allow us to take a look at these stories, Mr. Director, as we loop in. Yes, and Nakuru Governor, that is Susan Kihika, will be forced to go back to the drawing board after the court disallowed her choice of nominees to the cabinet. The Employment and Labor Relations Court in Nakuru on Monday said that her move announcing the nomination of the 10 individuals to fill in the county executive positions in her cabinet was illegal. Justice Helen Wasilwa, in her ruling following a petition filed by Nakuru Surgeon Benjamin Magare, said that the recruitment process was not done in accordance with the law. Now, she thus ordered that Governor Kihika is to initiate proper legal process of filing the position as contemplated in law.
For the appointment of CSCs of Nakuru County was skewed. It does not reflect the county diversity of the county. The same should not be allowed to proceed. In the circumstances, these are my orders. Number 1, the court issues an order of judicial review by Officer Shorarai, quashing the first respondent's press release or any document of the purported nomination, appointment of the interested parties, or any other person nominated without consideration of statutory and constitutional provisions as county executive committee members of Nakuru County government. Number 2, an order of judicial review by way of mandamus compelling the respondents herein to initiate a proper legal process of filling the county executive committee members of Nakuru County government positions as contemplated in the Constitution, the County Government Act, and all enabling provisions of the law. Number 3, an order of judicial review by way of prohibition, prohibiting the respondents and all persons from processing the nominations, appointment of the interested parties, or any other person nominated in contravention of statutory and constitutional excepts as provided under the law.
Please, Your Ladyship.
All right, the fight against criminal gangs unleashing terror on Nakuru residents since the year began appears to be far from over as the criminals continue to seemingly dare the government. And as Chichi Josephine now reports, the residents are still reeling in shock after a gang attacked and killed off a member of the elite police Wrecking Squad unit, one of the specially trained units under the General Service Unit, GSU.
Police Constable Harrison Onyoki, who arrived in Nakuru on Saturday for his 6-year-old son's graduation ceremony, became a statistic among the gang's victims that evening, with his two brothers Hezron Onwanga and Morara Onwanga narrowly escaping death. The three fell in the hands of over 10 youth armed with crude weapons at around 11 p.m. as they walked home after watching a World Cup match at a local joint in Kwaronda, Nakuru West.
Tukifika hapo steamer line tukapatana na vijana wengine walikuwa zaidi ya 7 nao wakipanda. Sisi tukafikiria ni pia ni watu wamechelewa vile na sisi tumefanya tumechelewa, pengine wametoka kuona ball.
Niliona daga walikuwa na marungu mingi, ndio haya yametumiza mpaka hata kifua hapa sikii vizuri, lakini niko sawa. Huyu ndugu yangu mwenye ameaga, vijana walimwendea vijana 5. Mimi nilikuwa na vijana 3. Mmoja amenishika mikono nyuma, mwingine anaendelea kunigo.
Nakuru County Police Commander Peter Mwanzo says that Onyoki sustained fractures on his skull, which led to his death as he was being attended to at the Nakuru Level 5 hospital.
He staged a fight, of course. He never went down easily. He took them. But unfortunately, after stabbing him with a knife, we have an indication that someone else hit him with a crude weapon on the forehead, smashing it, whereby he fell unconscious. He was assisted by the police and the police who were able to rush to the scene immediately, and he was taken to the hospital. Unfortunately, never make it.
Onyoki's death paints a grim picture of how innocent people suffer and others killed by members of the outlawed Confirm group, which has splinter groups spread across various residential estates in the county. His death comes a month after the gangs conducted a series of attacks that left Pastor Simon Murage dead and several residents having their ears chopped off. According to the county police boss, there appeared to be a strong campaign against the police, which was impeding them from performing their duties in dealing with insecurity. He, however, noted that they'll not relent in the fight against the gangs to keep the county safe.
But I'm looking at a situation where supposing the officer managed and things were the other way around. Maybe putting them down equally. Right now, what you could be seeing is what you see here. There could have been a lot of harassment.
Chichi Josephine, TV47.
Now, the Council of Governors has faulted the national government for late disbursement of funds, saying operations at the devolved units could grind to a halt. And as Boniface Baraza reports, the council is also pushing for financing of community health services, that is including paying stipends to community health volunteers. Our reporter Boniface Baraza with the details.
The Council of Governors has a bone to pick with the national government, accusing Treasury of delaying the disbursement of funds to counties. This is as the council now pushes for 15% increment in revenue allocation.
Note that the CRA has recommended Kenya shillings 407 billion to be allocated to counties in the financial year 2023-2024, which is a 10% increase from the current 370 billion on the vertical sharing of revenue. In line with this, the Council proposes a 15% increase of the projected revenue growth in the financial year 2023-2024 and hence request for an allocation of a minimum of 425 billion to counties.
The Council's chair, Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru, pointed out that Treasury still owes the 47 devolved units 29.6 billion shillings for the month of October and 31.45 billion shillings for the month of November. a situation that has crippled service delivery at the counties.
Currently, 47 county governments are owed 29.6 billion for October and 31.45 billion for November allocations. We therefore call upon the National Treasury to expedite the disbursement of monies owed to ensure that services in the counties are not disrupted.
On health matters, the council urged the national government to provide additional budgetary allocation to facilitate the renewal of contracts of staff in charge of universal health coverage.
Further, we urge the national government to provide additional budgetary resources to county governments for renewal of contracts of UHC staff at the market rate salaries. The payroll management for the UHC staff should also be transferred to county governments.
In addition, the council intends to engage the Ministry of Health on modalities to roll out payments for the community health volunteers.
Following the IBEC meeting on 18th October 2022, it was proposed that the cost of community health services stipend be split on a 50-50 basis between the county governments and the national government. In light of this, we will engage the Ministry of Health to develop the modalities of this proposal so that community health services do not stall.
The council has also revealed plans to hold the 10th annual devolution conference in Uasin Gishu County at a later date to be announced. Bonfas Barasa, TV47.
Principal secretaries in different ministries have taken over from their predecessors, marking the end of retired President Uhuru Kenyatta's government. Collins Lusweti with a roundup of events that took place.
In the Ministry of Interior and Administration of National Government, outgoing Principal Secretary Karanja Kibicho passed on the baton to the new Principal Secretary Citizen Services, Ambassador Julius Bitok, saying that he felt proud of what he had achieved at the ministry.
Come to Mutesi here, we knew that Nyayo was the den of all crooks in this world because of passports, work permits and all that, and he's been able to streamline that.
Kibicho, however, regretted that he was unable to oversee the completion of Huduma Number project, saying there was too much misinformation about the project for political gain, which hindered completion of the project.
Project almost was killed. I hope now that elections are far, we will not attach emotions around a project like that wants to clean up, digitize, and ensure that when a Kenyan gives you their identification, they are truly the Kenyans.
New Principal Secretary in the Ministry, Julius Bitok, however, promised to revisit the Huduma Number project and work to improve it, terming it an excellent idea.
The third very important issue I'll be focusing on is on this Huduma Number. We need to get back to it and see where did we get it wrong. Why was it there a lot of negative publicity about it? I'm thinking that we need to rebrand it, probably into a smart ID that is more acceptable to the people.
In the Ministry of Information, Communication and Technology, new Principal Secretary John Kipchumba Tanui said the ministry will work to ensure Kenya becomes a regional technology hub, focusing on Konza City as a resource center on matters technology and information. Kipchumba says the ministry will work to attract investors in the country.
We will be working with this team to see how do we really build tech talent in our country. How do we make Kenya the continent's tech talent so that we can be able to attract new kind of businesses, business process outsourcing.
Also, outgoing Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, Andrew Kamau, handed over to Mohamed Liban, who promised to streamline the gas and oil sector in the country in a bid to address the challenges experienced in the sector. It's a day that has seen many handing over ceremonies, Principal Secretaries taking over, with many promising quite a lot in their respective ministries. Collins Lusweti, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, the Ministry of Education has changed the timing of opening of containers that have national examination papers from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. to curb cheating in the exams. Chief Executive Officer of the Kenya National Examination Council, that is Dr. David Njigere, says there were schools who used the morning hours period to attempt to cheat in the examinations. Sharon Baranga reports.
Monday morning, and more than 800,000 registered KCSE candidates were ready to begin writing their mathematics and English exams. This time round, the official opening time of the containers containing the examination material was changed from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. And here is why.
We have managed to start the exam at the expected time after opening the containers at 7. In the past, we've been opening at 6, so that gives the centers too much time with the exam papers, and those who want to play mischief, then they have a whole hour to do those things. So that's why we reduce the time of how long the centers should be having these exam papers. And as you have seen, there is no challenge. There will be 1 or 2 places where we will allow them to open the container at 6:30 if they are in the far-flung place and they have those challenges. But for most of these places, they don't have any challenge.
While we open at 7 here in Westlands, there would be a place where maybe they are opening at 6:45 because of the situation in which they are in. So we are managing each region and each place in their own circumstance, so that we ensure that there is no child who is disadvantaged, that each of them is able to start the examination at the appropriate time and at the time at which it is set out on the timetables.
Aside from that, the Ministry of Education has put in measures to safeguard the exam's integrity.
We have enhanced frisking of the students, especially because of the issue of phones. You have witnessed yourself that the invigilators and supervisors are doing a very good job of ensuring that they are frisking them. So we are vigilant across the country to make sure that we handle the question of phones which are not supposed to be in the examination centers. So far, so good. I would actually like to commend 99.9% of our center managers, supervisors, invigilators. They are doing a great job. But the 0.01% are the ones we are saying they have to make sure they do what they are supposed to do. And they all know what they're supposed to do.
Already marking of the KCPE examinations is underway.
For KCPE, we use personalized OMRs, that is optical mark readers, to facilitate machine reading. Then you need to personalize the answer sheets so that when you are running them, you know that this belongs to a specific candidate.
Form 4 candidates began writing their theory examinations on Friday last week. The exams will end on 23rd December. Sharon Baranga, TV 47.
Now, President William Ruto has come out to defend himself against claims leveled against him about capturing the judiciary, saying his support to the judiciary is to ensure justice is effectively and conclusively delivered to Kenyans. And as Andrin Kilemi now reports, the government has pledged to mobilize sufficient funds to facilitate Kenyans' access to justice.
President William Ruto has come out to respond to critics who have in the past questioned his seemingly close relationship with the judiciary, saying his interest is not in any way to interfere with the wheels of justice, but to ensure effective delivery of justice to the people of Kenya.
I know there is maybe a discussion as to why I am appearing in too many of the functions of the judiciary. I think they can confirm to you that I have never put a telephone call to anybody to ask them to do nothing. My support for the judiciary is so that they can effectively deliver justice to the people of Kenya. Period.
Speaking during the launch of the Administration of Justice in Kenya annual report, the head of state stated that the Kenya Kwanza government would mobilize sufficient funds for Kenyans to access justice and further ensure completion of 4 small claims courts in Nairobi within the next 90 days.
I wish to reiterate our pledge that despite prevailing budgetary challenges, we will unlock financial resources necessary to enhance access to justice in terms of infrastructure as well as personnel. I have agreed with the Chief Justice this morning that the pending 4 small claims courts in Nairobi, I will talk to the governor of Nairobi so that we can expedite the completion of these courts.
Chief Justice Martha Koome, who was present during the launch, said the judiciary will adopt technology to enhance access to justice as well as safeguard human rights in the administration of justice.
In the next financial year, Your Excellency, the NCAJ will prioritize the finalization of the draft bill, the development of the ICT policy. We also hope to strengthen and institutionalize the CUC, reforms focused on the vulnerable groups, broadening our network of collaborations, both state and non-state actors, and formulating coordinated responses to corruption.
From the very beginning, when the Chief Justice took over as the Chief Justice and the chair of the NCAJ, she was very clear that as much as we are independent institutions, we are interdependent of each other, and we must work with each other. And this is how governments are supposed to be run.
Andrine Kilemi, TV 47.
President William Ruto rallied Kenya Kwanza members of parliament to support the government agenda by passing crucial legislation to allow him implement the Kenya Kwanza manifesto. And at the heart of the agenda during a parliamentary caucus meeting that is in Nairobi, the first of its kind facilitated by Parliament, is the Hustler Fund, the competency-based curriculum and supplementary budget, among other bills.
In a stock-taking meeting that had reforms at IEBC on the agenda and the creation of the office of the official opposition leader, President William Ruto rallied his Kenya Kwanza troops to support the implementation of the Alliance Manifesto through key bills awaiting approval by Parliament.
Please forgive our parliamentary leadership. Sometimes I know they push you hard. It is not for any other reason. It's because we are also pushing them hard. And it is because, you know, the public also, the expectations are very high. We cannot afford to drop the ball. So all of us, and as has been said by the Leader of Majority, the agenda we bring to the floor of the House is the agenda for the Republic of Kenya and the administration that we run. It is not private business. It is not a private agenda. It doesn't belong to anyone.
Since the promulgation of the new constitution, this is the most efficient army, Your Excellency. They deal with precision in every business that they deal with on the floor of the House.
The Kenya Kwanza Parliamentary Caucus meeting coming at a time the administration is now fully constituted, with the new cabinet secretaries and principal secretaries having officially taken office. This as the alliance vowed to counter a resurgent opposition that is campaigning against the removal of IEBC commissioners and the Hustler Fund, President William Ruto's pet project, launched last week.
You have heard these characters from the other side of Azimio telling people to borrow the money and not to pay, which is very retrogressive thinking. That should not happen in areas where you have been elected. And we are urging you to be the ambassadors of the Hustlers Fund.
My only concern, I think, is the issue of the Muslim nation, the issue of interest. So I believe, and we have raised with the authorities concern, that we are part of Muslim nation, or so Muslim nations are majority, you cannot ignore. And we want them to be part and parcel of this Hustler Fund. They can benefit directly or indirectly. We will share the little resource we have with Kenyans. Even if it's 5 shillings. For them, they had billions and they have never shared with us. With us, 1 shilling, we will share with Kenyans. That's our policy, yes.
So I want to tell the Kenyans, the hustlers, the mamambogas, start with that 500. It will give birth to more and more. And the more you repay, the faster you repay, the more it increases.
Parliament is expected to hold a special sitting this Thursday to approve the supplementary budget and approve commissioners to the Commission on Revenue Allocation, as well as discuss pending bills to actualize the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto. With CDF rollout expected in the next few weeks, MPs are expected to play a crucial part in the placement of junior secondary schools in the primary schools infrastructure.
The President's presence here is crucial as far as consolidating the Hustler agenda in Parliament is concerned, ahead of a crucial sitting on Thursday this week, despite an unrelenting opposition waiting on the wings. Apul Kamau, TV 47 in Nairobi.
The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Vice Chairperson and Commissioner Juliana Cherera finally gave in to pressure and resigned. Cherera is among the 4 commissioners that were expected to be probed by the tribunal chaired by Court of Appeal Judge Aggrey Muchelule over the decision to reject presidential results after the August 9th polls.
Barely hours before Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance planned demonstration take place to protest the sacking of 4 IEBC commissioners, 2 out of the 4 commissioners have resigned. The latest being IEBC Vice Chairperson and Commissioner Juliana Cherera, who resigned early today. In the letter dated December 5th, 2022, in which she addressed President William Ruto, Cherera said, and I quote, "It is with immense woe that today I tender my resignation as a Commissioner and Vice Chairperson of Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission," end of quote. She went ahead and said, "I sincerely thank His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, President of Kenya, for the opportunity accorded to me to serve the Republic. God bless," end of quote. Her resignation comes 2 days after IEBC Commissioner Justice Nyang'aya resigned from his position.
We concluded that the process that went into generation of Form 34C, which he used to declare results of the presidential election, was opaque.
Other commissioners who were expected to appear before the Aggrey Muchelule-led tribunal are Francis Wanderi and Irene Masit.
Mandate of the tribunal, such as this one, that is constituted under Article 251 of the Constitution, demands that you conduct your proceedings in a very transparent and fair manner.
But even as Azimio leader insists that they will go on with the protests, many will be waiting to see if the coalition will go ahead with the protests. Reporting for TV47, I'm Violet Auma.
Members of Azimio coalition led by Raila Odinga insist that they will conduct a peaceful meeting on Wednesday to protest against the removal from office of IEBC commissioners who disagreed with Chebukati at the tail end of this year's elections process. And as Mike Agungo reports, Odinga and his deputy in Azimio, Martha Karua, say they do not intend to hold violent protests as claimed by their detractors.
Azimio la Umoja One Kenya leader Raila Odinga insists that the resignation of IEBC Vice Chairperson Juliana Cherera and 3 other commissioners who disowned President William Ruto's win will not stop their peaceful meeting at Kamukunji grounds, Nairobi on Wednesday this week. Odinga and his deputy Martha Karua insisting that the meeting will be peaceful.
That the Kamukunji event is a public consultative forum. The right to public protest, the right to demonstrate are enshrined in the Constitution.
That we are acting in the best interest of the members of Azimio, and that the meeting on Wednesday at Kamukunji grounds is a peaceful public consultative meeting.
Additionally, Odinga and his team have planned for another meeting at Jamhuri grounds on December 12th to celebrate patriots who fought for Kenya's freedom.
Again, that is just going to be celebrating Jamhuri Day with Wazalendo wa Kenya. And it's also going to be a very peaceful congregation. Not protests, not picketing.
An area of great concern to Azimio in which they intend to deliberate on is what they term as the cannibalization and politicization of the public service and the skilled appointments in the service. This comes in the backdrop of President William Ruto having warned the opposition against violent protests.
We regard the public service as the foundation of our nation. Nations begin to fail when the civil service fails. We are concerned that the fairly functional public service of Kenya, and which our nation has struggled to build over the years, is being turned upside down by the UDA regime.
Azimio! The Azimio leader took the opportunity to assure Kenyans that the Azimio brigade is united, contrary to reports that there were divisions among member parties.
Allegation in the media that Azimio Mizambaratika. As you can see here, Honorable Martha Karua represents NARC Kenya. So you need to know that Azimio is very much united here.
Let us be serious and let people do whatever they feel befits them in the position they stand. We reject unsolicited advice.
Meanwhile, Jubilee Party Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni says the party will not field any candidate in the upcoming by-elections in Elgeyo-Marakwet County, Kandara and Garissa Township constituencies.
And this is further informed by the findings of the Supreme Court that the chair of IEBC acted unilaterally without involving other commissioners in making core decisions of the commission, noting that Chebukati should have already proceeded on terminal leave pending the appointment of a new chair.
The mini polls will be held on January 5th, 2023 to replace Kipchumba Murkomen, Alice Wahome and Aden Duale, who are currently serving as cabinet secretaries for trade, water and defense respectively. Mike, GOtv 47, Nairobi.
Well, one of the stories that we'll look at this morning is that very one as to whether then Azimio survives or not. Unfortunately, I don't think I have anyone who will be representing them. We were expecting to get a hold of Honorable Makali Mulu, but then after work down on ground campaigning, and so this lady and gentleman will perhaps just accord them some little advice. And yes, it's an honor to have them this morning. Honorable Kasim Sawa Tandaza, Member of Parliament of Matuga. Mheshimiwa, karibu sana.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. You well?
Very well.
Karibu sana. And then there is Honorable Gloria Oroba, nominated Senator. Asante sana for creating time. Karibu morning. And lastly, yes, it's always a pleasure, Gloria. And Honorable Kirwa Abraham, Member of Parliament of Mosop. You know, we sort of campaigned. You know, sometimes even in our own spaces we campaign. I think I campaigned for you, not campaign as such, but campaigned for you. You know, and for Gloria, and as well for Honorable Kirwa here. And I'm happy that you made it. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
But you see, that worries us. If you campaign for
I did not campaign.
It means if you were to go and campaign for yourself, then you would trust. But
you see, that's the whole idea. And I was telling Gloria this morning that somehow I'll find my way somewhere there at some point in time. Otherwise, why would I be discussing all this politics and fail to go out there and represent the people? So at some point in time, please, create space. I'm told that most of the chief campaigners are the ones who always go back and take up these positions.
The PS.
Yeah, the PS.
Yeah, so very dangerous people.
Oh. As though he had our conversation.
They know the ins and the outs.
Yeah. That's the beauty of life. So we take a short break and then we come back to the conversation as to that. Of course, I wasn't campaigning for them, but I had them on set a couple of times before the campaigns. And so we walked that journey and I appreciate all of them. So let's take a short break and then we come back to that.
A loving husband and father. Nothing.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday. Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
And music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m.
Just tell me that in 2, 3, 4 months, that this 6 million or 6 point something million Kenyans who are supporters of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and those ones that are still supporters of the Kenya Kwanza government, but again would have questions as to what the government is doing, would not really be coerced to listen to what the Right Honorable Raila Odinga is doing. And as it is, it looks like it's systems gore. He is determined to go out there and challenge the ills, if at all I'll call them the ills, of this very government, to start off with the Haslan narrative. But even before we go to that point, I see his face, that one of the Jubilee Party Secretary General, that one of his deputy, that one of the Wiper Party leader. And I mean, questions linger as to whether the Azimio One Kenya coalition really holds. You need them for a good and formidable, that is opposition. Honorable Kasim.
You see, it is of no use having a general without an army.
Okay.
And this has been the position to the run-up to the 9th August election. And I was also on this platform when I could discuss with my Azimio colleagues that they were living in history in the past. They will talk about how Coast is theirs, how Western is theirs, and everywhere. And I was telling them that is history. Okay, I know the Odinga himself is a historian.
Yeah.
No wonder his people also like history. But it is history. So for this particular case, Linda, people have moved on. People have moved on. There are better things that they are waiting. There are better things the Kenya Kwanza government has lined up for them. And that's what they are waiting for. And they are going to get it. They know that also. So anybody thinking that he can again go back to the streets, Kenyans have moved on from that position. I watched a clip the other day about when Honorable Babu Owino was so confident that they have been there before. Yes, they used to be there, but they should know that the Kenyan ordinary mwananchi right now is not going to go for maandamano. I know, even when they say it's consultation, chaos can break out. But not because of politics. It can only break out because we have criminal people, criminal gangs will go there and take advantage of that situation. So that might give a resemblance that they have been able to organize. But for sure, if the security apparatus takes their position in terms of criminal activities, not political chaos, the way they would want to pretend that they have organized it, I can assure you, Linda, nothing. No Kenyan will go to the streets because of what. You
know, you can say that until you realize that actually people are on the streets.
Criminals are there. Criminals are there.
So these are criminals that will have hit the streets.
Yeah, people will take advantage.
Beyond they are, yes.
The criminals will always take advantage of any situation. That is for sure. You see. The other day, it happened in Eldoret, I think, when people broke into a supermarket and whatever. That was not politics. Yeah. Was it politics?
No.
No. Those are criminal activities. So people can take advantage of such a situation. Last week, he was in Malindi, and he tried to sell that narrative to a crowd which nobody had mobilized. It was not Azimio, it was not Kenya Kwanza, if anything. It was the homecoming of an ODM governor, so take it largely that it was an ODM crowd. And when he talked about going to the streets, people told him right on the face, no, we are past that. And that was his crowd, so to speak, because it was an ODM function.
All right.
So and there are better ways of correcting this government if we are going wrong. There are better ways, and he knows that.
And you know, in his own wisdom, the most proper way to do this is to have a conversation with the people, because like it has been said that, or it will be a kamkunji of I don't know what, a mass action. He says no, it is not mass action. It is for us to speak to the people of Kenya. And Gloria Oroba, politically, you know very well that if you are a politician who understands the game, you cannot sit pretty and say that, well, criminals are going to take advantage of that, and say that, well, Kenyans are past that, and say that, well, you know, Kenyans are not going to go out there to the streets and do this. Because I had someone, as you know, Eric Ragalo, you know Eric Ragalo very well, a doctor who says, I am going to be there. And therefore you cannot look at this person as a criminal, a diehard, a learned person. And so how many more of Eric Ragalos do we have today? And how many more of Kenyans that would feel like, you know what, really things are not going the way we want for them to go. And therefore it is important that we go out there and speak.
So, you know, I think the idea of having, because they're saying it will become kunjis, they want to talk to Kenyans, they want to gather around and I don't know, sensitize or talk to Kenyans about what is not right and what should be right. I think they are 4 months too late. Because the time when we were doing town halls and actually engaging the electorate on the things that we want to do to change their lives, it was 4 months ago. 4 months.
Give it to them. They tried.
No, they didn't. Because I remember coming to set and saying that the revolution that you're seeing is actually a different kind of revolution. When people are so focused on rallies and, you know, standing on top of cars and just, you know, spewing all sorts of political statements and taglines, Kenya Kwanza was having town halls, kamkunjis, economic forums. They were sitting down with different groups of people, with teachers, with youth, with women, with who, all sorts of constituencies of people trying to understand what it is that these people want in terms of a government that's functional. That was the time when, in all fairness, Azimio should have actually switched gears from rallies and state-sponsored events to now actually sitting down with the electorate. So I would say they are 4 months too late, because Kenyans now know what they want. As a matter of fact, just to demonstrate that people are busy and Kenyans are busy. The Hustler Fund that was just launched, as at yesterday 7 p.m., last night 7 p.m., 1 billion was in the pockets of Kenyans. 1 billion. And if someone wants to underestimate what 1 billion looks like to Kenyans, they need to understand that at 7 a.m. in the morning, people had borrowed 3.4 billion. Yes. But by 7 p.m. in the evening, 4.4 billion had been borrowed. New subscribers alone, just new subscribers, as at yesterday 7 p.m., was 1.8 million. You know, these are numbers that are tangible, that you can verify. 1.8 million new subscribers. And then you had repeat customers of around, from 165,000, it grew to 276,000. Repeat subscribers, meaning they have already interacted with the platform, they have borrowed, they have paid, they are coming back. So when you're talking about maandamano, remember, guys are busy trying to figure out how they can tap into the resources that government is trying to give to them. So, you know, when someone tells you 1 billion Kenya shillings has been put in the pockets of Kenyans in this short span, in the name of Hustler Fund, it is not something to ignore.
But then again, it's one thing to put this money into the pockets of Kenyans. It's another for it to circulate proper. It's another for these Kenyans.
The bottom line is, when the Hustler Fund was being initiated, there was a lot of talk about no one is interested in that small money, tokenism, and it's nonsense. What will 500 shillings do for a business? There was a lot of negativity. And indeed, if that was the case, if actually electorate didn't understand what the Hustler Fund, we would not be having 1 billion having been borrowed.
But Gloria,
as a matter of fact, no, listen, we wouldn't even be having people repaying back the money that they are borrowing. In terms of savings alone, Kenyans, just through this platform, have saved 219 million. Something that has never happened, not through NSSF, not through, including now we are introducing this thing, it's a saving culture. So I think also, as much as this whole maandamano thing has been the norm, when you lose out on an election, you try to, you know, showcase that you have so many millions of people who voted for you, so you try to mobilize them so that they can destabilize the ongoings of government, and then hope that government will call you, sit you down and try to have a handshake kind of conversation. First of all, you know, William Ruto is from a different kind of political, you know, he's not your conventional politician who you are going to threaten. and go on the streets and try to showcase your muscle, and then, you know, at a Twitter, watch a Twitter.
Do you have the confidence today that there's no point where the president will be coerced, and I use that word carefully, to call Right Honorable Raila Odinga? We are just beginning. We're only like 2-3 months into the government of William Ruto.
You know, if anyone has been following me on these political shows, you know that everything that I spoke of has come to pass.
Has played out, yes.
Everything.
Yes.
Including the fact that at one point I told you, most of these Azimio people will not be in Azimio. Look at what is happening.
We have one on set. Please do not hit her.
When I'm saying,
but you're not Azimio at all. There's not a single time.
I sat on set. There are people who are here, diehard and whatever. Towards the end of the election, they switched. Some immediately after William Ruto actually took office, they said, as we're going to work in government, they've gone to State House to see him, pledge their allegiances and say they're going to work. So I want to tell you categorically, and you can take it from me, from the person who has literally prophesied on this political from 2020 till now, and the things I've said have come to pass. Take it from me, there's no handshake government.
Hold it, not handshake government.
There's no situation where, because of your demonstrations and let me say, because of your attempts to disrupt the peace and stability of this country, that our President William Ruto will actually call you in to sit you down to negotiate. Because you know what, Alela, I said this before, this government, and particularly William Ruto, does not negotiate with terrorists.
Hold it right there, Gloria. You know, we've not even allowed Honorable Kira to say a thing, and I'm told that we have to take a quick break. So we take a quick break, Honorable Kira, and then we come back to you.
That's
right.
Well, do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty.
Continue to train job creators and guide our students to think outside the box. Watch the inspiring story of this academic giant on Friday 9th December 2022 on TV 47 starting at 8:45 a.m. Mount Kenya University, unlocking infinite possibilities. Mount Kenya.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussion.
right, Honorable Kiro Abraham is with us this morning, Gloria Oroba, as well as Honorable Kasim Sawa Tandaza. And so, Mheshimiwa, we come to you on, I don't even know whether we need to speak as to whether Azimio holds or not. And Gloria is giving us numbers of the Hustler Fund, and we all understand what has happened. We all understand how many Kenyans as well have just gone to take this money for trial purposes. For trial purposes.
For business.
For trial purposes. Oh. Mheshimiwa, all the gentlemen I had on set here yesterday had done that for trial purposes. Personally, I tried. I haven't received a message just yet. I'm very grateful.
We are not credit.
But I am wondering. And so they say they also that the Hustler Fund can as well dictate the dynasties and say, now this one is a dynasty, does not need this.
They don't need the 500 bob.
Honorable Kiro. So, I mean, even as we get ourselves into the Hustler Fund conversation and as to what the Right Honorable Raila Odinga slated for tomorrow, he is to discuss the Cherera 4. Interesting. I don't know what he will be discussing by the time it's tomorrow, because anything can happen. This day is still young. Definitely he'll be talking about the GMO. He'll be talking about the Hustler Fund and so much more as to what the Kenya Kwanza government is doing, which we commend them for doing a couple of matters, you know, pretty much fast.
Linda, they say that doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results, is just madness. You see, this issue of demonstration by Azimio, led by the leader Raila, they've continuously promoted this issue of we have to demonstrate every single time that there is a disagreement. It thinks that by going to the street, people are going to just leave whatever they were doing. They will just come and support what he's doing. Things and times have changed. The population and the generation that we have now, they are results-oriented. They have actually watched the Azimio leader over time. And the results has been dismal. He has not delivered what these young people expected. You see, he's still in the mindset of old days where he would just go to the streets and people would flock and just come and support him.
But you know, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga changed tact and went to the handshake direction. And everybody thought, oh,
and that was the worst thing that he ever did. In fact, what messed his political career is the handshake. It was the big mistake because he actually lost his kind of brand of politics that used to be independent. But when he went into the handshake, did the handshake with Uhuru, he became now, I mean, he accepted to be paid, he accepted to be, so he quit being Raila that we used to know. And so that's why right now he's trying to get traction, but he's not being able to. And he will not, because most of the people are saying his time is past. We have moved on. The kind of politics and brand of politics that His Excellency William Ruto has brought in is resonating with a lot of people. And we're talking about issues of Hustler Fund, that we are talking about people are borrowing 17 million an hour. 17 million shillings an hour is going to people's pockets. We are talking of a revolutionary, where people are going to get this money, it is going to stimulate the economy, things are going to change. So you can't tell me, you are calling me to go sit down on the street when somebody else is giving me money that is going to help me to change my economic status. I mean, things have changed, and I think Azimio should go back and really rethink the future of their party and the direction that they are going. Otherwise, they will become obsolete by February next year. And watch this space. By February next year,
there will be no Azimio.
They will be gone. And they are going at a very fast rate. We interact quite a bit with members in parliament. And most of them are telling us, guys, really, we don't know our future. Because what Kenya Kwanza has done has opened doors and is allowing everybody to come in. And they're saying, let's sit down, guys.
And you see, that is the point of worry for any common mwananchi, that when they sit on the same table, the politicians, you do not smile.
But you
because honestly, you do not expect a common mwananchi to appreciate the fact that our politicians are speaking the same language.
We still want a very strong opposition, and I think that is how a country should be. We should have a strong opposition. But at the same time, we have to look at the best interest of the country. If we want to build this country, we have to look at it and say 20 years, 40 years, 50 years from now, where will Kenya be? And so if we are bringing some programs that is going to change and that's going to help this country, every person who is sober and interested will be able to come to the table and say, let's discuss. It doesn't mean that if we agree to disagree on some issues, but there are some good issues, like this Hustler Fund is going to change this country.
Historically speaking, and on that very note, and maybe to loop you in, Honorable Kasim Sawa Tandaza, we understand how important it is to have, dissenting voices, to have people speaking the different, languages on the space of politics, and that has been proven over time. And so when we oversee a scenario where everybody is going to be gelled in to at some point in time, speak the language of the government, don't you think it's cause for worry for a majority of us? And that one person who appears to be challenging and, oversighting and keeping the government in check, then is to be isolated. What would it mean?
Linda, let me put it clearly that the fact that I'm in Kenya Kwanza
doesn't mean that you can challenge.
That I'll support everything that is said, even if it is against my conscience, against my people, against the people of Kenya. You see, I'm there representing the people of Matuga.
And I like the way you people are speaking as politicians, because you all understand what my question is after all.
No. That is the right position.
Yes.
So the mere, even when one is in Azimio, it would, I'm lacking a better word, but it would not make sense somebody to oppose something just for the sake of opposing. Because, when we were talking about the Hustler Fund, and this was very unfortunate when others walked out. This Hustler Fund is on a platform. It does not even require you to indicate whether you are a member of Azimio or INASA or Kenya Kwanza or whatever.
It requires you to incorporate your password. Why?
But your password has nothing to do with your political party.
Well,
so this fund is for every Kenyan, including those who are in Azimio, you see. And this is something, for the government, it was in the manifesto, it has been rolled out. We're actualizing what we told the Kenyans, and it is about all Kenyans. Now somebody walks out of that one because Hustler Fund, it has the word hustler, maybe. To me, that is the height of hypocrisy. They should know that even somebody in Nyanza or in Nairobi or in Kioni's constituency, they need that money. I'm sure sooner or later there might be a breakdown on how much has been borrowed where. And they can assure you this money will be spread all over this country, irrespective of one's political affiliation. So people will come to Kenya Kwanza because of the manifesto, because of what you want to do for Kenyans, including himself. Not because of just political expediency, the way you are thinking about. Not because when they come in, then they cannot speak their minds, they cannot articulate issues for the Kenyans, as I've said, and I believe even us here. And for that case, the best situation that we find ourselves in now is that our president, William Samoei Ruto, at no one point so far, and he has a history of that one, has ever called us and told you must support this one. That one he has never said, you see. He reasons with us. He tells us what he thinks about a particular situation. Like yesterday, we had quite a good engagement. He was talking about the third gender rule, which has been it has been a sticky issue for a very long time, the issue of housing, and then he gives you the facts and his ideas, and then says you, ladies and gentlemen, waheshimiwa,
ponder on that.
What are your thoughts here? Maybe you can even improve on what I'm saying. It's not that what I've said is alpha and omega. So that is the Kenya Kwanza government, and I think it's out of that even those who are in the opposition would actually want to join us and build this country. Not that they just be joining us for us to cut deals the way. Politicians always looked at that when we sit together, we only talk about our salaries, we talk about our benefit. When you are passing the Hustler Fund, I believe no politician passed it because he was going to borrow out of that fund.
But the question is,
for the
do they know that this is going to help the common Mwananchi? And Gloria, I come back to you.
Exactly.
And the last time we had Gloria here, I don't know whether you were on set as well. No, no, you were not. But Gloria, remember the incubation processes that we talked about? Remember the follow-up processes that we talked about? Just how is this going to be realized at this very stage, so that we do not just have the funds in circulation, but we have the funds in circulation, giving us interest, giving us profits, giving us savings, and at the same time, Kenyans benefiting from the same?
Actually, I'm a bit disappointed on that note because I'm one of the few people who speak up even when it's very uncomfortable. So for me, the Hustler Fund is a success story, even now. But of course, you know, with every new thing, with every new project, there has to be room to make it more efficient, to improve it, to, you know, we have to be able to even criticize our own projects so that we can be able to make it better and you know, look at the success on a different. So one of the things that I'm a bit disappointed about is, first of all, that we, as at now, the Hustler Fund does not focus on things that were the problem with Uwezo Fund. For instance, Uwezo Fund's biggest issue on repayment was that most of the people borrowing the money were not really setting up businesses. So they would borrow the money in a group, and then they would go and do whatever they want to do. Some of them will pay medical bills, some of them would pay their rent. And then because they knew that there was no real repercussion on it, they would just not repay it back. And the very few who took the money and used it to set up businesses, because they lacked capacity on sustaining that business. You know, starting a new business, you need some level of training, or just someone needs to hold your hand so that you can make sure at least that you break even at one extent and be able to scale up, be profitable, and hire a few people. So those who even took at that point, they were not able. They set up the business, but you would find between 4 to 6 months, the business would collapse. And then if your business is not, it has collapsed, you cannot repay back the money. So some of the challenges that were there with Youth Fund and Uwezo Fund have still not squarely been addressed at the moment with the Hustler Fund. Because one of the things that I was really hoping and have pushed, and even in the spaces that I am in, I'm still pushing, that we should at least, number one, scale up the figure. Because there are some entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, who are actually engaging in businesses such as in agriculture that are going to push for food security, which is a big thing in this country. Those businesses should be considered a special kind of business and should be, let me say, funded on a higher level than what the platform is providing now. I understand that in the few months to come, that is also going to be looked at, and there will be an option of not borrowing 500, but your credit limit going up all the way to maybe even 100, 200,000. At that point, what I really hope, and I'm pushing, and I have every intention to try and be that change maker in that space, is that those who will be getting that much money would also have to go through some level of basic business skills. We're not talking about degree level. We're talking about practical things, bookkeeping, how to market your things, how to engage your client, how to ensure that you're expanding your markets, things like that. And then so that at least we are sure that after they go, and it's 4 to 5 weeks, we are sure that this person has got the skills, and then we are sure that maybe we'll put them into an what we call an acceleration program, where we make sure that we are keeping them in check, such that, Alela, if it is me who's giving you money from my pocket and I'm giving you 200,000, and you tell me you're going to set up, I don't know, some chicken rearing activity, at least every week I should be able to come and see, how do your books look like? And if there's a challenge, you know, you can say my challenge is here and there, and we can try and now create that level of mentorship between businesses that have been successful and those that are starting. Because essentially, what the Hustler Fund should do is it should set us on that pace of job creation. Jobs can only be created if we are setting up business or scaling up businesses. That is it. For you to be an employer, you are operating some level of business. So that I'm a bit disappointed because we haven't reached there, but I'm being assured by the technical team that we are getting there, and I will keep speaking up. And that's what I like about what Kasim said. Having dissenting views is not just so that you can have dissenting views. You know, it is like, yes, I am in Kenya Kwanza, I'm a big advocate of the Hustler Fund, but I also know we can do more in that space. And I also know that some of the things have not been met. And on the issue of opposition, I would say this. For the first time, maybe what you're seeing is that majority of the politicians are actually speaking in one voice, and it's not about their salaries or as Kasim said, the deals.
This is about the Hustler Fund, and
it's about understanding. First of all, you need to get re-elected. If, for instance, I'm nominated, so right now my constituency of people is the women that I represent in the Senate. But perhaps had I actually won the Member of Parliament seat in Bobasi constituency and I was a Member of Parliament, I would be asking myself, in the 5 years that I'm an MP, what can I actually push in terms of stakeholders from national government, from the international community, from donors. What can I push to take to Bobasi constituency? If I am informed that there is a meeting at State House, for instance, key members of parliament have gone to meet the president. What is the agenda? The agenda is we are going to tell him the things that we want him to do in our region. Why would I stay out of that meeting when I know very well in Bobasi constituency, not only do I need boreholes, not only do I need roads, not only do I want to set up a center of excellence, maybe an ICT center, I will go for that meeting in the capacity as an elected member of parliament to represent my people of Bobasi constituency, so that I sit there and I tell the president, listen, we might have come from different political parts of the divide, but you are the president of all Kenyans. Now, the Kenyans in Bobasi constituency, these are the things that they want. Because as a member of parliament, your role is of representation, legislation, and oversight. So to miss out on any opportunity to represent your people at that level of decision making, there's no politician who will tell you, mi siendi huko kwa sababu mimi ni mtu wa Raila. Because at the moment, what is Raila offering you as a member of parliament? What kind of development will he sit you down as an ODM member of parliament and tell you that now tunaenda maandamano? I want your people for Bobasi constituency to come together, wafanye maandamano in their... How is that helping your people?
And we want to understand just what are the possibilities that there's not a single time, because it's in the best interest as well of the president to, serve the people in an environment that is good enough. When Honorable Kasim Sawatandaza highlights the fact that, not every Kenyan would be interested in this, perhaps those ones that would appear as goons, criminals would get in. Even in the presence of these, if they are to come on board and we have criminals on board, they will disrupt activities, they will disrupt businesses. So that's the last thing you want to have as a president. So don't you believe that there will be chances where at some point in time then there'll be that need to tame the Right Honorable Raila Odinga? And, we know what politics is. We know how politics is played. We have seen him to some large extent tamed by what was the Nusum Kate government, by the handshake. It will come in a different form, or it might not come in at all, as Gloria Oroba would say. But we need some essence of political sanity for the government to be able to deliver. As you speak to this as well, the Hustler Fund, some of the things that Gloria highlights, and a majority of Kenyans have highlighted as to question marks on that. And even the business environment, the three of you are businessmen and women in the country. And therefore, beyond having the money, you need an ample business environment to conduct this. And are we there yet?
And you're very right, Linda. I think what you're asking is very, very genuine, because, see, we need a good environment that will allow the government to continue to run its business. And one of the things that the president discussed yesterday when we were at a BT meeting is creating the office of opposition leader. And it's something that we're going to be passing on Thursday. It's one of the issues that he has called a special sitting on Thursday. And one of the issues that we'll be discussing is about creating the position of an office of opposition leader, so that the government is going to fund it. It will give him reason to, to be able to have an office and also to manage his affairs from there and engage government in a sober way. So that he's not going to the streets to issue his statements, he's not issuing statements but he will have an office where he can actually engage people, he will be able to sit down, and now it will be structured engagement. And I think this is going to bring a lot of sanity. One thing I can assure you, there will be no handshake. That is one thing that the president assured us, the Kenya Kwanza government assured us, that we are not going to have an handshake. Because once you do an handshake, that means there is no opposition to counter or to check the government.
But then again, we're not really talking about a handshake. Like we said, there was then the Nusum Kate government, and there will be Grand Coalition. Then there's going to be, an handshake, and perhaps just a way of taming the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and even incorporating an office that would be official would also be a way of taming.
Why do you want to tame Raila?
Why would you not want to?
Why do you want to tame Raila?
Why would you not want to?
Nobody wants to tame Raila. Raila should be left to be Raila.
I think Raila should remain to be Raila.
Yes.
Let him be himself, so that he can check on the government.
Yes.
On the issue of Hustler Fund that she had mentioned a few minutes ago, I want to believe that it is the best thing that ever happened to this country. You see, we are talking of about 10.62 million Kenyans have accessed these funds already. We are talking of about 3.69 billion that's already been dispersed to the people. And we are talking about, we have already saved 200 million shillings savings. If we looked at the most parts of Africa, Kenya is ranked as one of the countries that is the lowest in savings. And so what this fund is doing, it is actually going to create and increase our savings. So as of yesterday night, we have actually saved 200 million shillings, which we didn't have. So it is going to create and encourage the culture of saving in our country.
Right.
Two, the whole idea of starting somebody with 500 shillings, it is not that it's a very small amount of money. They are trying to gauge how this person is responsible with these finances. So once you are given 500 shillings and you repay it within 14 days, then they increase it maybe to 1,000. You become responsible to 1,000, they increase it to 2,000. So they start building your credit. It is an idea that it was brought in so that we can actually build the credit of our nation, so that we can increase the savings. And I think some people are saying, take the money and don't repay it. And I want to just really challenge the Kenyans and tell them, if you don't repay it, it is you who has actually messed up your credit. Remember, we are going back now to a credit system where it will be based on your discipline. How disciplined are you with your finances? So that you will be able to increase to 50,000, and then you can move from 50,000 to 10 million. Remember, there is another product that will be launched in February for circles and for groups that is going to go from 500,000 to 10 million, where it will allow the members to borrow. But this is actually trying to encourage the Kenyans to be very disciplined with their finances. Don't look at the amount. Look at what is going to do for you in the long term. And I think most of these opposition leaders are saying that their people in their zones don't repay. Go borrow the money, but don't repay. That is a very wrong advice, because what it's going to do, it is going to mess the credit of almost the people from the region. And then at the end of the day, when they want to go to the bank, they'll be told, your credit is messed up. You can't borrow any funds. But what the president is saying, let's be a disciplined nation. Let's be a people who actually cares about our future. If we start teaching our children, and this is something that we also need to, if the husband borrows the money using his own phone, he should not go and ask the wife, give me your phone and give me your ID, so that he can borrow from and he defaults. And if the husband has defaulted on the 700 he received, he should not default on the wife's 700 shillings he's going to borrow from the wife's phone. And then he's going to go to the child and say, let me use your phone. This is something that we should be very disciplined. If you borrow the money, learn to repay. Okay, okoba deni, lipa deni, dawa ya deni niku kulipa.
Are you confident that this fund will survive and be helpful to the people of Kenya as we sum it up on that?
This fund will survive, but let me talk a little bit on the 500. I think this is where people are not getting it right.
Yeah. 500 shillings.
500 shillings.
Yes.
How much can you do with 500 shillings?
That's the question.
A lot. For the actual hustler.
Okay.
How much does it cost for that person on a jam anayeuza njugu? You see, how much is a kilo of njugu?
Around 200.
Around 200.
Yes.
So with the 500, you can get 200 kilos. And a few...
200 kilos?
2 kilos, sorry.
Kasim, Cherera.
You can get a kilo.
You said a kilo of njugu is 200. You don't need a gunia. You need that mkebe.
So that's like 300.
Yeah.
And then chumvi 20.
Whatever. So you are done with your 1 kilo of... And out of that, how many 2 packets can you make?
Very many. And then when it's sold,
maybe about 500 shillings.
Yes.
And the smallest packet goes for 20 shillings. So from the 500, you can see very easily, you can translate it in 1,000 bob. And if the jam persists, you can do that twice in a day. I'm trying to say, how much can you do with 500?
You can do so much. Can we ask ourselves this?
Yeah.
That we want, for some moment, leaders that would speak progressively.
Yeah.
And you have had the privilege of traveling the world.
Yeah.
Gloria has had the privilege of staying abroad.
Yeah.
And to be honest, some of these activities that and I hate to say that we glorify today, are a little bit, those ones that Kenyans would feel, we really need to advance. We need to come from that step where we're going to have people, hawking jugos.
Yeah,
we need to advance from a step where we're going to still have people selling maize.
Linda,
and we're not looking down upon this one.
I totally agree with you.
Yes.
But you cannot all of a sudden move from not selling njugu when you didn't have 1,000 shillings in your pocket and start a boutique shop in upmarket Kilimani. That can't happen. It will not succeed. And if you want to prove it, even you with your small salary, go to the village, give somebody 20,000 shillings to start a business. It will not happen. Yeah, but if you were to give that person 1,000 or 2,000, she can start sukuma wiki and sell and sustain him or herself. That is the way it works.
In fact, if you go,
so there is no way we are going to remove at whatever cost. We are not going to remove hawkers in our economy in Kenya. That I can't see it happening. Even when we progress, sometimes it's about culture, it's where we are coming from. And it's a question of demand and supply. You see, there are people in cars like us who stop and buy njugus on the street. It is our culture. It's not that we can't buy njugus in the supermarket. We know they are there. But it is a bit of our culture which is unique and good to sustain the whole spectrum of these people.
Alela, if
so with the 500 shillings, you can do a lot. Let's start from there. These people who are saying, what can you do with the 500? These are people who do not know how much people need to start a small business in the village, and grow the road and whatever. Yeah, maybe somebody grew up in a mansion and is looking at 500, can't even buy me a cup of coffee if you are to go to an upmarket hotel or whatever. But I can assure you 500 shillings can do a lot. And that was the whole basis of the Hustler Fund. Remember, those who vote are those who, it's not those people who are looking for 2 million, 5 million to start a business. You see, those are the people who are there hoping that they are good. And remember, we are coming out of COVID, where that njugu seller, during COVID, he could not sell njugu. He ate that 500 bob, that 1,000 bob. Now COVID is out, but now he's wondering, how do I go back to my small business? He's looking for that 500. He's looking for that 1,000. So before we even think about the millions, we could just as well stick with the 500, 1,000, 2,000, and it would make a great difference in the economy.
Gloria, can you allude to that after this break?
I want to stress, if you audit the repayments of the hustler, it is the small-scale traders who are able to repay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they
are very disciplined and they know how to actually make that turnaround. They know how to give. The return on investment on 500 is easy for them to do. And now that's the next step that as a country we need to go in and see, Mama Mboga amekuwa Mama Mboga since you're in primary school. Your kids now are in primary school. How come they don't become wholesalers? Now we need to go and give them capacity building and show them how to scale up their business.
And that's a very important point, that for the longest of years, this person has been selling. Mheshimiwa, allow us to take a short break and then we'll come back on that.
Okay.
What's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe.
All right, and of course we have Honorable Kasim Sawa Tandas, Honorable Gloria Roba, as well as Honorable Kirwa Abraham, as we get to this very, very important conversation. And Gloria, it is not easy on you online. We're just being reminded that the Right Honorable Raila Odinga is the enigma, can never be a terrorist. But I think I understand.
But nobody said he's a terrorist. In fact, if you understood,
yes,
yeah, because anybody who uses violence and fear and activity.
Can it be categorical that the Right Honorable Raila Odinga also said that we are going to negotiate?
Alela, I'm telling you, anybody, even me today, if I walk into this studio and I start threatening to break all these cameras because I want to be seen.
Which is not done.
I will be equally a terrorist. Anyone who uses violence as a thing for negotiation is a terrorist. So, and those days, it used to work.
Okay.
And you know, and in fact, the biggest concern that we had was when a president felt the need to actually sit down with one person who's disrupting the peace.
But you look, because even at the papers, Gloria,
the precedence that you're setting is that any other time you have a general election and someone actually does not win, all they have to do is pay a couple of people here and there, mobilize a few people here and there.
Which is not what Right Honorable Raila Odinga intends
and
to do.
We are correcting all the ills that have been there, that have been pushed by the last regime, by the last president. Number one, when elections are over, they're over. We have one president who is a president for all. And anyone else should be categorized as opposition or whatever, or friendlies or whatever. And in fact, what I like about the idea that President William Ruto is doing is he understands, okay, fine, there has to be a platform where the leader of opposition can officially push their agenda. And that is why he went to talk to the members of parliament to tell them, wacha tutengeneze ofisi ya official leader of opposition, because those are people who, where the politics we are now, our politics is forward thinking, such that a president can actually push his own numbers to go and create an office of the official leader of
Will that not be going against the constitution and perhaps what the BBI
but you know,
trying to
the constitution was made by man.
It is dynamic.
For man.
Therefore,
and we have to reach a place to understand, how do we keep government in check? To be able to keep government in check, there has to be an official office.
The majority leaders are not, they are minorities.
And remember, BBI, the issue on BBI was that they were trying to bring a whole package as one basket. We pass everything. So there were things that we were completely okay, that were good. Like the official office of the leader of opposition was a good thing. Because for you to be able, even to have shadow cabinets, right? Right now people, there were those who were promised cabinet positions in the opposition because perhaps they had interest in making sure that we did the right. You know, someone like Joho now, instead of being on TikTok, will be the shadow land minister, so that now he can actually do his work officially on the side of opposition in an office that is actually recognized.
But just how did you know that he was on TikTok? Are you
I
there as
follow
well?
him.
Oh, you follow him, so you also.
So I'm just saying, then we'll have official offices, so that now when you have a person like on the other side, yesterday we saw Jeremiah Kioni and who. When you have people who are now speaking, they're not just speaking as former MPs or people who followed Raila. They'll be speaking as shadow cabinet secretaries.
And these ones are supposed to be paid. These ones are supposed to be catered for by the taxpayer.
They should, at least. That office should be facilitated.
Is that not extreme again?
Let me ask you.
That's where the punguza mzigo conversation began from.
The electorate wants the government to be put in check. We have the three arms, which are supposed to be independent of each other. But we also need that third eye that actually now keeps the government in totality.
After all, democracy is
expensive. And for you to be a shadow cabinet minister, how can you just be a shadow cabinet minister? You can't even be able to write a letter officially to that cabinet and say, we would like to see certain audited reports. Those are functions that require some level of facilitation. And that is what Raila Odinga should be pushing for. He should not be asking children and youth to go to the street when his own daughter has a job in Iala. Yeah? So when they're telling people, I'm sitting in Senate with a brother. So when you're saying, lazima tuende as people of this country, line up your family.
I'll play the devil's advocate and insist on this. He says, and we have played that story, he says hooligans should be kept off the Azimio rallies, and these conversations that are about to be there, it's got nothing to do with, just trying to incite Kenyans. It's just a simple moment of conversation, Linda, as to what... Yes.
You know, between you and me, when you go to Kasarani and wherever you go, there is no way you can say hooligans will not come and the right people should come. You've called a demonstration, everybody is going to be there.
Okay.
And whatever is going to transpire, he has to take the responsibility. You have to take, as a leader, he has to accept 100% responsibility. If there will be fights, whatever it will be, or there will be demonstration around the whole country, he has to take the responsibility that is the one who is causing the unrest in the whole country. You know, things have changed, and I continue to say that. Times have passed, and BAMBA has to accept that young leaders should be groomed. You know, the mistake that Baba has done is not allowing the young people to take over the mantle. He continues, even on his old age, to be the one to decide where the party goes, what the party does, when to stand, when to sit down. What he needs to accept is that there is a young group of leaders who have different ideas and they are willing to change this country. They will continue his ideas, yes, but allow them. Because if your daughter is already representing Kenya in Yala, that is a big step. You need to accept that. The son of Kalonzo is going to be in Yala also representing us. They should also prepare themselves to hand over the mantle. If their own children are taking over the leadership, then they should consider and say, yes, our time is up. Let the young people take over. Let's support them from the background. But you should not be the one on the front line.
Politically, you know, even let's overlook the Right Honorable Raila Odinga for a second and speak about Kalonzo Musyoka. He has ambitions for sure, and that's the reason why maybe when the president said that he tried to call him to this other side, he said no, because he has
to where?
And which is
ambitions for presidency at
when?
least 2020.
Which country?
Kalonzo Musyoka is not going to
be anointed
no way,
by Raila,
not now.
Anointed by Raila when Raila himself has lost clout.
Who is supposed to anoint him in this case?
Why does
the reason why is right now.
He's the next opposition leader.
The next opposition leader is going to be Kalonzo.
The reason why he's in Azimio
yes.
is there, hoping that come 2027, Raila will not run, and he is going to anoint him to be successor, which will not happen. That one will not happen.
Because what? Raila Odinga will, or maybe Azimio will not hold until then?
Well, you know, the beauty with Raila is that even without Azimio, he'll come up with something else.
Okay.
You know, this somebody he's been metamorphosing after every 5 years. You know, he has been in CORD, he has been in Orange, he's been on NASA, now he's Azimio. Before that, I'm sure he'll come out with something. So that is not anything to worry about. But one, he'll not be anointed. And even if he were to be anointed, Raila will not be having anything much to offer him.
Okay.
You see. So to Kalonzo, this is a zero-sum game. But one thing I'm quite confident, even him will join Kenya Kwanza.
But wait a minute, Kalonzo Musyoka is a national figure.
He is.
For sure.
But at the same
and does he really require any form of endorsement?
No, but see, the biggest problem that we have with Kalonzo, and that is why we have called him a watermelon, he keeps changing, he keeps moving from, he doesn't understand.
And that is politics. Honorable Kasim Sawatandaza here will tell you that he was NASA.
He was NASA, he was in ODM, he is now in Azimio, he continues.
He is now Kenya Kwanza.
Yeah. What happens is, he's looking for an opportunity and he cannot stand at a mantle. He cannot say, I'm going to die with you, he will now look for an opportunity. If Kenya Kwanza will offer him something,
he's been offered and said no.
He will come. When? And I can tell you, before 2027, he will be a member of Kenya Kwanza.
Why would you need Kalonzo as part of Kenya Kwanza?
Because we have to bring the country together.
Why not Right Honorable Raila Odinga?
Because Raila is looking, you know, Raila cannot survive outside government. And that is why all this noise he's making, he wants to be part of the government. He wants the handshake. He wants to be part of, and that is why...
He has survived before.
No, because he pushed for the Nusumkate. Remember? He was the one who pushed for Nusumkate. He's the one now who pushed for the, what is this called? The handshake. Now he's trying to push the current president.
Did he? The president said they reached out to him.
Oh, no, he was
saw it necessary to reach out to him. And are you trying to say that there's a deliberate attempt to isolate
Linda,
not really, not necessarily.
May I weigh in?
Yes.
It's very simple. There are people in this country who were born in State House and cannot live outside of State House. And there are people also in this country who are born very close to State House and they cannot live further from State House. Raila Odinga's father was who? Yeah? These are people who are used to power, who are used to people coming to them so that they can take their phone and make that phone call to State House so that your problems can be solved. Now, which phone call will Raila make today?
You think he cannot?
No, which phone call is he making? You know, you have to think about it very practically. There are people who all their lives, I'm not talking about the last 10 years, those are the people who just joined Akina Gloria Roba even the last 2 years. There are people who all their lives, and when they woke up like this, they could even start walking. They knew that anytime they have a problem, they have that power. Those kind of people cannot survive outside.
So are you saying that there's a deliberate attempt to isolate the right?
They don't even know how to survive outside of government. I give you another example. Let's not talk about Raila Odinga. Go to Kisii County. You have Governor Ongwaya. Yeah? Who, before he was governor, was for the longest time, 25 plus years. My father worked under this man.
He was a PS, he was a high-level civil, senior civil. He doesn't know any other life outside of government. Immediately after being a PS and drilling all that power for all those years, he went into Kisii County and became a governor for 2 terms, 10 years. Ongwaya does not know any other life outside of government. That is why immediately he saw that, you know, the things have shifted. He had to go back to government. Yeah, and his way is very simple. Hana maandamano ama anything. He just quit ODM and he said, Mimi, I'm going to stand with Kenya Kwanza. Went to Karen, went to State House, and now he is in government. You understand? And those are the things now. If Raila, because he has understood now, power has shifted. The first time, it was about a handshake. It was about a nusu mkate government. The second time, it was about the handshake government. Now he has realized, hapa ni kugumu kidogo. Hakuna nusu mkate, hakuna handshake. So he should just come forth, just like Atwoli. Atwoli came to State House and said, hey.
Acknowledge.
Yeah, yani huyu kijana, he became president. Now, since we didn't know, but tumefika, me, I'm supporting. Because he realizes, me, I want to be in government. So the thing of allow me to finish. The thing of dragging people into your ambitions, because this is a personal ambition or a personal statement, is wrong. Because remember, there are people who died with Raila Odinga, you know, in this last before he did the handshake. And when the handshake actually happened that morning, do you know, there were guys who were so disappointed they went into depression. And the worst thing about the handshake, you cannot actually pick out even a handful of people who benefited in terms of appointment, who were with Raila. He never went with his people. He never carried the mzigo of, you know, like me, I've campaigned. When we were done, you look at the people around and you're like, hey, sasa nani walinisaidia, where do we assist, ABCD. Raila never carried not one person, except his family members, who now got the appointments in the boards of waters and what. He never carried anyone.
Is that factual?
So when you look at the picture today on is this Standard? On Standard, on page 6, and you look at the face of Jeremiah Kioni standing there.
Body language.
Body language, everything. He knows. Hakuna kitu wanapata hapo. He knows. So people already know. That is why Orengo decided, let me push my personal ambition. Due to Mama na Baba for how long? Let me go become governor and do my things. You know, some of those people I even fault them, because at the end of the day, they should have even said this election was flawed. Even my election was flawed. So me hata mimi sikubali kiti yangu ya governor kwa sababu baba. Yeah, but you can't be carrying people all the time. Wakubebe. But at the end of the day, when you get wherever you're going, you leave them behind.
Rewarding loyalty, and Mheshimiwa, you say you have a different opinion to that.
Yeah, I had a different opinion from the line of thinking of Gloria. When at one point he was alluding that also Baba should have come, or he can still come to State House and say, yeah, you've won and now I joined the government. To me, no. You know, on earth, everybody has his or her own talent. Let's admit it. Baba Raila is very talented in the opposition. Removing him out of opposition is losing a very talented person. Yeah. And you can see this happened during the handshake for the 4 years. There was no opposition, literally to speak. Literally speaking, there was no opposition. And, you know, for any government, it needs serious opposition. It needs people who can actually analyze to comb what the government is doing. And that way, it's not criticizing, it's making it better. And that is the position of even His Excellency, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, that he needs Raila as the leader of opposition. And as my colleague has said, when the process of even creating an office for the leader of opposition, because, and this came by the 2010 Constitution, when you said if you are to run for presidency, then you cannot run as a member of parliament, or you cannot be nominated into the house, you know. So now you are talking about the leader of a minority. This is not the leader of that party. You see, he does not have that clout at the party level nationwide. So he cannot articulate anything strongly, like if Raila was in the house and the leader, even if he was to be the leader of the minority, but in parliament. So this is what is the position. Raila is talented. We cannot take that out of him. Take him into government and you finish him. And that is how he was finished prior to the 9th August election when he was taken into government. And we've had such leaders before. Even when you go way back to, but I know there was a leader like Martin Shikuku, who was very good as the people's watchman. He was given that tag. But at one point he was given an assistant ministerial position, and that's the time he lost it. Remember Koigi Wamwerwe, he was also very good when it comes to articulating issues in the opposition. At one time, he was also made an assistant minister, and he's never come back again into
Is that
parliament.
how Musalia Mudavadi...
So there are people who are talented in a particular area. Take them out and you finish them.
Is that how Musalia Mudavadi has been finished?
No, he's not finished.
No, for him, he's not
stronger. Musalia Mudavadi is... You see, Linda, all politics is about interests. Politics is about interest. Musalia Mudavadi saw his interest and he figured the best place I can actually survive, and he has actually survived and is even stronger, was him coming to Kenya Kwanza. Look at what he has managed to achieve. He has one of the most powerful cabinet secretaries in the nation. He's now in London representing the government. He's doing a lot of things. Even Raila, the reason he's continuing to be in the opposition is because of his interest. Kalonzo is doing what he's doing because of his interest. So all these politicians, when you see them, they're looking out for their own interests. As much as they're looking out for the interests of the people, I think the number one thing will be always the interest of themselves first. And that is why it's so selfish for one person to continue over and over for many years to hold hostage to a group of people. And I think that's what he has done. Raila has continued to hold a huge population hostage of this country instead of releasing them. You know, the children of Israel, Moses had to go so that he can set the children.
You know, you're talking about politicians.
We are talking about politicians. And that is exactly what he has done. He is holding a huge population hostage by calling demonstrations, by saying things are going to change. And people have come to believe that is exactly, this guy is going to redeem us from bondage. There is no bondage. People need to be released so that they can be independent of themselves, so that we can get new leaders and we can move forward. Because you need to understand, these politicians, what they are after is the interest of their own and their families. So they have to have a population that is following them so that they will continue to be relevant. But as we know, as it is, the future and the leadership of Raila has come to an end, and it's coming to an end very soon. We have to accept who is going to take over after Raila. And they should be grooming somebody, either from the Western or whatever it is that is going to be. They should be looking for a leader who is going to take over. But he's not ready to do that. And that is selfish of him.
Before you ask this question, one question. Of all the people going to demonstrate, you know, I could be one of them, maybe, yeah?
To have a conversation.
I need to ask myself, what this demonstration, when we are successful, what will I, Gloria Roba, get? When you're putting on your sneakers, your rubber shoes, your batangomas to go to the street, making sure you are, you know,
because
comfortable.
You can't be there on heels,
yeah, I need to ask myself, so mi leo tukienda demonstrations, leo jioni tukirudi, tuende kuongeleshwa na baba sasa, mi niko sure 100% mi nitaappointiwa CEO wa Youth Fund. So I must go and demonstrate. By all means, if you are demonstrating for something, for a job, for money, for an appointment, to be part of leadership of ODM or Azimio, please put on your rubbers and go. But if you're not demonstrating for those four things, a job, for money, to be part of leadership, to be appointed somewhere in government, unavaa viatu kwenda kudemonstrate ndio Raila Odinga apewe pesa. My friend, sit down.
Before we talk about the IEBC, someone is saying, you know, Linda, the three should be reminded that we're almost getting back to the era, and therefore it will be premium tiers. Are they not worried about how the president is handling affairs? And this I will equate to what it is that the chairperson of UDA says. That, you know, they are looking forward to set up a party that is good enough, you know, strong enough, that one that holds the face of the likes of ANC in South Africa, the likes of Chama cha Mapinduzi in Tanzania, and all this, you know, the CCM. And the biggest question then would be that somehow everybody will be tamed and toned down into this one man who will be, say, a benevolent dictator. No. And when you see the likes of Kalonzo Musyoka, saying that, you're even planning to rig elections, you know, the 2027. Is it not cause for alarm?
What would you expect the chairman of a political party to say? That, well, I'm a chairman, but I don't intend my party to be strong. I don't want members. What you would expect him to say? You would
expect for them to say that we have to be strong.
Yeah, that's what you would expect.
Yes.
And if that happens, that everybody joins, now, is that the mistake of UDA, the chairman, or it's the mistake of the people joining, knowing that probably they hold different views in terms of how they can run this government, you see. But the short answer to that question is what is going to happen in Parliament when we create the position, the office of leader of official opposition. If the president William Samoei Ruto has those motives of collapsing everything and going back to the one-party state, so you may say it, he will not create that office, you see. And this office, once created, is for perpetuity. It's not for somebody. In next 2027, anybody else can occupy that position. In 2032, anybody else will occupy that position. And that is how serious we are as Kenya Kwanza, from our president, that we need the opposition. If somebody is hungry or is greedy, and I can assure them there is no money being dished out by joining Kenya Kwanza right now. But probably if somebody thinks that by joining is going to be paid, which is not going to happen, that is unfortunate of that person. But for now, we need the opposition, we need political parties. And remember, in the last election, and we passed these rules when we had the numbers already in Kenya Kwanza, by the time we were passing these rules, that even the political parties fund now is reaching more political parties than before. Initially, it was about 3-4 political parties. But now you need to have an MCA to access that money. That shows how serious we are in terms of growing political parties and opposition, if they are to be in opposition in this country. Otherwise, people will join Kenya Kwanza, not because of any senator motives, but if one is convinced that this is the political party, this is the coalition, which is going to bring change to the country at large.
You have the confidence that the Cherera 4 should have gone home long time ago. And I mean, this as well in relation to the story that we have all seen.
Unfortunately, Linda, we don't have that conscience of people resigning when they realized they have messed. Not about the Cherera 4, but we've seen this with cabinet secretaries, we've seen this with PSS. We've seen this with the leaders of delegations. Something goes horribly wrong, and somebody just feels like it's normal.
And they get themselves off the hook
without a scratch. You know, this is very unfortunate. Otherwise, for the best democracies, developed democracy, we've seen this. CS, Minister for Transport, a horrible accident, train accident happens. Of course, he's not the locomotive driver, he's not the MD of that one, he's not, but he says, this has happened in my docket, I resign, I must have failed somewhere. And that is where the problem is. That for the Cherera 4, the moment the results were announced, more so the moment even IBC, the Supreme Court, disagreed with them and showed them that they were totally off the mark. To me, that was the right time for them to resign. They shouldn't have waited all this time. I don't know what they were expecting out of the whole scenario, but they know, even themselves, cautiously, and I believe they have their conscience properly. They know that they messed and they should have resigned.
But Gloria Uroba, let's look at it this way. And you know, even in future, if resigning then is the way to go, then just how many people will be, you know, doing mistakes and getting away in the name of resigning? Because their conversation here today is that if they resign, then they're likely to enjoy the perks, And if they are to go through the tribunal, that perhaps maybe we'd get to understand some of the crucial matters that played out and, you know, an aspect of justice to it. Because if at all they failed the people of Kenya, then that's injustice to them. And therefore, this should be, you know, punished in a way. So at what point should we acknowledge that then resigning is punishment enough?
I don't think that resigning has any correlation with the pending investigation.
They will proceed.
Yes, they should proceed.
They should.
If I steal money and I resign, does that make me innocent?
No.
I've still stolen.
You have to go through the processes, of course. And perhaps that's why Oswago today is facing it.
Yes, and you know, I think this is the issue. You resigning is what? Why are you resigning? And why are you resigning now when a commission has been put to investigate it? Why didn't you resign, as a matter of fact, on the day you went to Serena for your press conference? That was the beginning. That should have been the beginning of you resigning, saying certain things are happening, I am not party to them, so therefore I'm resigning. The issue of resigning, you cannot on one hand say that I'm clean and I'm resigning, I don't want to be part of it, and on the other hand, only you do it strategically when you have been informed that there is an investigation pending. So I think for me, and I hope that is the case, that resigning does not mean that the investigations have ceased. I think even it is the Kenyans deserve to be told what really happened. And that is irrespective of whether you resign or stay in office. We need to be informed so that we can finally put this thing away and seal it. And also so that we can set precedents. So the next people who think they will get an appointment at IEBC today, if you look at the papers, there is a former IEBC former IEBC boss, deputy, jailed over 1.3 billion tender. Yeah? And this was a scam that was in 2013. Yeah? Whether he resigned in 2013, we don't care. If investigations come out and showcase that actually you stole money, you misappropriated money, because the issue of misappropriation of funds, public funds, should be taken this seriously, such that when people are now sitting in offices, we've just appointed new PSs, ministers, we are about to make new appointments in terms of state agencies, ambassadors and whatever, so that when they are appointed, when they read the papers and they see, kumbe this guy has been, they know that it is a reality, it can happen to you, and it doesn't matter how many years it will take. So the precedence that should be set with this IEBC thing is that, first of all, that office is supposed to be held by office holders of the highest level in terms of integrity, in terms of Chapter 6. So if indeed the things that Cherera and co, the four of them, were speaking, they were true and they knew that this thing is for sure what we were saying, they have no reason to resign. They have no reason to resign at all. As a matter of fact, I am a very, I feel like most of the time resigning is, it's like throwing your hands up and saying, hata nimechoka na watu, now let me go home and have peace.
They are to meet a tribunal that is headed by Agri Muchelule, formidable face for that matter. Yes. But there's that general feel as well that maybe this could already be predetermined.
But that is, you know,
that
now,
is the feel.
that is
for them to go and
it's
prove
okay.
Otherwise.
The point is, if indeed you have some things that the public needed to know, that your position, that you're standing your ground because of the integrity that you hold, because all the things you've been telling us since the Serena press conference is what you want us to believe, and you can back up that information, you have absolutely no reason to resign. But since you have resigned, me, the message I want to pass out there for the stakeholders involved in that, Kenyans deserve to know what happened. Resignation should not mean that suddenly we are not investigating. We would like to know what happened.
All right, so let's take a short break and then we come to you, Honorable Kero.
What's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m.
Mount Kenya University.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
And music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m.
Chaos. It almost banned the country because, you know, everybody was waiting and everybody was watching and everybody was expecting. And then suddenly they appeared in Serena and they announced that they don't agree with the decision of the chairman. They don't. I mean, this country almost plunged into chaos.
But was it not in order?
That was not in order because the way they did, they were compromised and they were told you will be protected, you can do whatever.
But how do you know that
I'm pretty sure some money changed hands. I think that's probably what happened. Okay. Because there is no way that all along they were going together with the chairman and the rest of the commission, and towards the end, they just decided, no, we are going to use. And then suddenly they appeared in Serena. They were reading a script, the same script Raila was reading. I mean, like these things had already been pre-planned that this is going to happen. You are not going to accept the results. Supposing that announcement had led the country to ban, where could we be today? And I think this should be used as an example for the future so that nobody out of nowhere will wake up and say, I disagree with the results. I want to put this country in chaos. I want to do this. So regardless of their resignation, and I know that Cherera has resigned, Justus has resigned, we now have Masid and one other commissioner, they are still now on they are trying to console with their attorneys, should we resign, should we not resign? I am sure before the end of the week, the rest of the two will have resigned. But regardless of their resignation, they should be made an example that you cannot put a country in a situation where it can be so dangerous. Because had we gotten into, we could have gone back to what we went through in 2007, where it was chaos. We went through some serious issues. So I want to believe, and I want also to urge leaders, because if Raila and his team, because they were the first one now, they want to defend them. Why are you defending them? Why don't you let the justice take its course? If you think they are innocent, they will be proven innocent. If they are guilty, they will be found guilty. But why are you saying we are going to do demonstration just to defend them? So my thing is, regardless of them resigning or not, we should be able to come up with a way to punish such people, because you don't wake up one morning and put a country in chaos. So it's going to be a very interesting turn of events as we move forward, especially at the end of the week or by next week. And if the two may say, okay, I want to go through the whole legal process, I want to, because in Parliament we passed the other day that this tribunal should be set. And so as it is, of course, they were suspended. And after suspension, the tribunal was to be put in place. After it's put in place, at the end of the day, we'll come up and find out exactly what happened. By resigning, we might not even get the whole story. Because now, if they don't go through the tribunal, we might not know what really happened. But if they go through the tribunal, they'll be able to spill the beans and say, hey, the reason we did this is because so and so and so. So it will implicate more people, actually. There will be more people will be mentioned. So I'm thinking we should go through the whole tribunal issue so that we can find out what really happened. And in the future, somebody will say, oh, no, I'm not going to try this thing. Remember, Akombe did the same thing, and she just resigned and just, and she's outside there in the country just saying some things which cannot be even substantiated. So I think our nation needs, and even as we go to choose the people who are going to sit in this commission, we have to be extremely careful that we bring people who are very qualified. Remember, even these leaders who are these commissioners, their credentials were even questionable. Some of them could not have passed. But because they were, aligned to a certain mrengo, they were passed through anyway. But if you look at their credentials, they were not very qualified. So we should get people of integrity, people who are qualified to be in those positions, so that when Kenyans even see them, they see their qualification and they see these are the right people to handle our IBC issues.
And so these resignations will affect the demos tomorrow, and in future the IBC is at the heart of this very conversation, because it's just a matter of months before we are treated to another conversation of getting other commissioners. Just how do we go about this? Because the vetting processes we witnessed, they were quite intense. And so to imagine that we'd get to this space is ridiculous.
Two things, Linda. I don't think the demonstrations have anything to do with the IBC.
It's good, yeah.
This has to do with what Raila knows best. Okay. That probably out
we
of
get to learn about tomorrow.
Yeah, if he gets enough numbers and they cause distraction, then something might come out of it from the Kenya Kwanza government, and the answer is no. But maybe what husema mtu huaminilie la kuona, so they also want to see whether it will materialize or not. So that one has nothing to do with it. Two, it takes me back to my first point when I said, even when you are appointed or you are in a certain position because of a certain mrengo or a certain political figurehead, it reaches a point where you also have to use your own conscience, you see. It reaches a point where you have to say, well, you have took me to this office, but the way things are now, this is the right position, and I'm going to stick with this position. You will always be on the right side of, even with God, and He'll see how to protect you. But just to be hurriedly be given something to read, you see, and now you are confident saying it's opaque, because 0.01% is 140,000. You know, it's something to read which somebody gives you out of nowhere without even thinking, and a whole 4 of you. You know, this is not even one person, a whole 4 of you. I think it was it faxed or it was on SMS, and now that becomes the basis of saying now you can't accept the results. That was quite reckless. That was quite reckless.
Right.
And I think this should be a lesson to anybody appointed into such a position, in any position, that it reaches a point where you have to interrogate what you are going to say, what you are going to tell the public, what your personal position is. And this is where I think Chebukati stole the show. Yeah, he talked to his gun, he stood on his position, read the results, and even when it was petitioned at the Supreme Court, of course, it was proved that those results, what he read, is what was the will of the people, what people voted. And I think that's the basis of elections. The other things can happen, but when it comes to numbers, that is the final decision. It doesn't lie. Was there 50% plus 1? Yes. That was all, you know. And that is the way I think leaders should be able to behave, to act in private and also in public to move this country forward.
And that the Chebukati 3, so to speak, go home head high, you think?
Of course, they're on the right side of the law, the right side of God, the right side of Kenyans, you see. And basically, that is the position it is. And I can assure you, it appeared 50-50, isn't it? But for the last 3 months, for the last 4 months, if elections were to be held now, this one I can tell you for sure. Of course, we don't need an election. We'll have them after 5 years. I can assure you, ground has shifted so much in favor of Kenya Kwanza right now. Within that's the last 3 months. And that's why I'm saying, for those who are thinking that they have the numbers to take to the streets, wacha wajaribu, those numbers are no longer there.
Let's look forward to tomorrow. By-elections, Gloria, as we sum it up. We're having by-elections, and therefore those ones that are supposed to elect their leaders should have the confidence that in all these shenanigans and hullabaloo, they will be guaranteed of a fair process. As we close
this is the first, maybe we should have many by-elections. This is the first time we're having by-elections. It's quiet, it's calm, you know. It almost doesn't seem like we have by-elections. You know? No, but I want to wish the candidates all the best, and I think I had some of them speaking as to how the process has been and how IBC has conducted themselves. All very positive stories. And we hope that none of the outcomes of the by-elections actually tilt the numbers, because coming from Kenya Kwanza, we are enjoying a very good
majority.
And so hopefully we still, you know, I hope it doesn't affect the numbers, but even if it does, you can be sure that
there's going to be a shift. And
within their house, there are Azimio fellas that are actually coming to Kenya Kwanza. Gloria, so if 1 or 2 people are elected,
let me tell you why it cannot even
nothing can be true.
Because they even don't have a candidate in Garissa. They don't have a candidate in Kandara. Yeah, so how they've given up. And that is why
but you know, so Kasim, that's the reason
why they cannot even raise a candidate. You know,
Azimio has a problem. Azimio. Even in the Senate, I can tell you Azimio doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
It's been swallowed.
ODM exists. Wiper exists, the individual parties exist. That's why even Okongo Mogeni got the Parliamentary Service Commission, because Azimio as a team doesn't exist. So I think also that's the reason how they could not field candidates, because if you're still operating in this mythical Azimio team and in practicality there is no team, then of course you'll be waiting for ODM to field or Wiper to field or whoever, then
we really don't anticipate any changes. Nobody wants to be outside the government.
Even have
I mean, if you know for sure that you are going to form, or you are going to choose an individual who wants to be outside the government. Who wants to be outside the government? You want to tell me the election we have in Elgeyo Marakwet to replace Kipchumba Murkomen is going to go to Azimio? Azimio don't even have a candidate. Or independent candidate. Everybody wants to be part of the government. As we move forward, I don't anticipate.
I want to. I feel like I need to put the spotlight on smaller parties like UDM. and parties that have taken
that shifted.
No, you know, that have done what? If there are parties, if you go and do the audit of how many MCAs and MPs they have, it is shocking.
Oh, they have
in comparison with a big party like Jubilee. You know, even parties like Kanu, they managed to fill candidates here and there
successfully.
Yeah. So this thing of Azimio, that was a coalition political party that does not have not even one elected member of parliament, should be very shameful, because at the end of the day, as a political party, they are not represented in the National Assembly or in the Senate or even in the county assemblies. So when if you compare Azimio even to a party like UDM, to a party like those ones from Kisii, you know, those ones.
But is it not the same?
Bad, they are doing. Azimio is actually doing very badly because they have no elected.
You know, I am tempted to ask whether this is a Kenya Kwanza government or a UDA government.
This is a
Kenya Kwanza government, because we all came together as parties.
I am asking
it's a Kenya Kwanza
because you're hitting Azimio so hard, and I'm wondering why.
No, it's a Kenya Kwanza government.
As we got it right as a coalition.
As a coalition.
Yeah, Kenya Kwanza.
But on different parties.
Them they got it wrong.
They said it's a coalition.
When they talked of Azimio as a
political party.
That is where they got
and
it
not
wrong.
necessarily that they got it wrong. You know, there's always be winners and losers. And when you lose, you have to accept that you've lost, and you have to accept that there will be a winner. And as such, Kenya Kwanza won, and for the next 10 years, Kenya Kwanza will be leading this country.
Without doubt.
But the coalition
Kenya Kwanza will hold.
Linda,
it will hold.
The coalition political party,
the
coalition political party of Azimio, they got it wrong. Because if you're a serious party leader, and of course of which Uhuru Kenyatta was not serious, because he was the chairman of the Azimio political. If you're a serious party leader, you want to field candidates under your party. You know what I mean? Because remember, even when we came together as Kenya Kwanza, William Ruto, as the party leader of UDA, was like, listen, we're in Kenya Kwanza, a coalition, but UDA will field candidates everywhere.
So it's a coalition of parties versus
because you protect a coalition political party. Because then you protect the interest of the party. It is in your interest as a party leader to make sure that you have the highest elected members of parliament. How are you a chair of a coalition political party and you're okay with not fielding any candidate anywhere? Because all these people, there's no MP who vied as
yes.
You know, so that also shows you. But then when you have bad leadership, that shows you the direction. This is a good case study. If there's anyone doing a thesis in university in political science, take Azimio as a good case study of poor leadership in a political party and how it will affect the future of that political party.
Can we close it, ladies and gentlemen? In 30 seconds, your parting shots, if need be.
Let's give Kenya Kwanza the space, the peace for it to transform this country. We have the plan. We are working on it. It is on its course. We have started rolling it out. It is for the good of this country. For those who hold the contrary opinion, they have the right to advocate for it, but peacefully, let them criticize constructively, and everybody will get the benefits of the Kenya Kwanza government.
Fair enough. Gloria?
I think my parting shot is that as we are actually supporting this government, because that's what we should do, honestly. And even supporting also means criticizing, criticizing in light that I am not okay with the Hustler Fund because it does not allow me to do ABCD. And then we can sit down and discuss how do you want it to do, you know, what you want it to do. I think it's not about giving government time. It's about being an active player who's even if you're keeping government in check, but it should be on issue-based. You know, when Robert Alai started the fight against noise pollution, everyone who thought it was cool and fun to not sleep and have bars going crazy was like, huyu mtu hata hatutaimpe kura tena. But I can tell you right now, Robert Alai can run for MP and he will get it, because that was an issue that was really affecting many residents. And as we're looking at the economy of this country, it's an issue that's affecting all Kenyans. So if you're going to criticize the Hustler Fund, we welcome all the criticism that will help us make it more efficient, you know? So come and tell us, this saving scheme, where you're putting the money, we don't want you to put the money there. Can you put the money here? Because we will double up on the interest that it builds. Then we'll be like, that's a good idea. Don't come and tell us, Hustler Fund ni bure, wacha tuifunge, we unatupatia nini? What are you giving us to replace the Hustler Fund? So it's a starting point. We're going to make it more efficient. I'm part of the people who are pushing that we get bigger amounts of money given to social entrepreneurs. I'm part of the people who are also pushing that we get basic business training as part of the program, and also that we have an acceleration program. So yes, the things you're talking about, it makes sense. There are guys who need 500 shillings to start their business. There are guys who need 500,000 shillings to start their business, and we need to start looking into that direction.
Good.
Yeah.
Mheshimiwa. Thank you again, Linda. I appreciate for this opportunity that you've given us. I want to challenge Kenyans that let's give this administration an opportunity to make a difference in this country. Take advantage of some of these resources that the president is giving to the nation. If it's Hustler Fund, if it's a low-income housing projects, like today we'll be in Machakos, we'll be joining the president at Mlolongo to launch the low housing project there, and there will be so many all over the country. I'm asking Kenyans, take advantage of this opportunity to own a home. They will be free and fair. Everybody will be given an opportunity to own a home. Take advantage of it so that you own a home. And not only that, take responsibility to make sure that your own economic status will get better within these 5 years, because there will be so many opportunities that will be given. And as a nation, let's make sure that we appreciate peace that we have. We are really experiencing good peace in the country. The economy is going to go up. And as such, let's give this administration a good opportunity, and let's work together as a nation to build a better future.
Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa Honorable Kirwa Abraham, Member of Parliament of Mosop, Gloria Uroba, nominated Senator Asante Sana, as well as Member of Parliament of Matuga, Honorable Kasim Sawa Tandaza. We close this one. The conversation continues, this for the benefit of the people of Kenya. Shortly, we shift gears to affordable housing, which is what the President is going to speak when he goes